They give money because they want something in return. It's never a gift. So, what do we have here? We have a wannabe whistleblower motivated by his hate for the president, along with his attorney, who's either prescient or is part of a long-hatched plot to get rid of the president. What information puts this alleged whistleblower at risk? We're entitled to know what motivates him. What information did he reveal that puts him at risk? And was his hearsay second, third, or fourth hand? Did Schiff provide a lawyer for him? Is he an agent of the coup? What brought this person to us? Why was he even in the White House? The statute, by the way, does not give the whistleblower anonymity. But everyone wants to protect him. Everyone is so stupid here that they're going along with the Schiff narrative to protect him so that we don't get to find out what this person's role is and how long he was being groomed to get to this moment in history. In the end, everyone, none of this matters. None of it rises to the level of an impeachable offense. I still want to know what quid pro quo Barack Obama got for $150 million he gave the Ayatollah in Iran. I still want to know what Barack Obama was promising Putin through Medvedev in that hot mic moment that he could do after the election. Look, if you don't like the president's policy, vote for somebody else. And in the meantime, let the president do the job we elected him to do. And that's my open. Let me know what you think on my Facebook, Twitter, hashtag Judge Jeanine. And remember, if you like my opens, you'll get fired up. Buy my book, Radicals, Resistance, and Revenge, The Left's Plot to Remake America. And here to react to my open and all of the latest developments in the Dems impeachment witch hunt, House Intelligence Committee ranking member, Congressman Devin Nunes joins me now. All right, Congressman, thanks so much for being with us. Last night, you wrote a letter, November 8th, and you demanded that Adam Schiff sit for a closed-door deposition before the House Intelligence and Foreign Affairs and Oversight Committee. Now, you make it clear that this is something that has been done in the past. For example, during the Russian interference investigation, sitting members of Congress actually agreed to participate in closed-door depositions. So this is not something for which there is no precedent. And I'm curious, did you get an answer to the request that Adam Schiff, I consider a material witness, agree to sit for a closed-door deposition?
Well, surprisingly, we have not got an answer to our letter from yesterday, but we did get an answer from our letter to this morning on our witness list, which I'm sure you're going to get to that.
Yes,
but
in a minute.
Judge, we said it in our letter. Yeah, this is something that the Democrats on the House Intelligence Committee pushed for. They were hell-bent on having Dana Rohrabacher, who was a congressman from California, testify before the committee because, of course, after they struck out on their 50, 60, 70 witnesses that we gave them, by the way, the mainstream media continues to lie and obfuscate because they're part of this cult following of this Democratic cult that's been started to it's like the Trump voodoo cult, okay?
Okay.
It never ends. Despite what they say, we gave them 50, 60, 70 witnesses. I can't even remember the exact number anymore.
Okay.
Okay? So one of those witnesses that they demanded after they flamed out on all those witnesses, they said, well, it must be Congressman Dana Rohrabacher. He's the key. So finally, Dana Rohrabacher agreed to come in and sit down for a deposition and testify
But you're talking about
in
before.
private.
You're talking about before. I want to get to now.
Yeah.
Now you send a letter today.
Okay, we can go there.
And you give a list of all the people you want to testify. And I'm going to throw up some of the photographs of the requested GOP witnesses. And they're not GOP witnesses, but the GOP has asked for them to testify. And as you can see, there's Hunter Biden up there. And as it relates to Hunter Biden, I mean, I suspect that what they're saying is there's no chance of his testifying, correct?
Well, one of the things that they did, Judge, is that the ink wasn't even dry on the letter that we sent to the Democrats this morning before they blasted out that press release to all of their cohorts in the media that then ran and said, well, these are, calling as if there's something wrong with us calling Hunter Biden someone who is receiving $50,000 to $80,000 a month. It's well documented that something definitely happened there. It's well documented that the Ukrainians were passing information to paid Democratic operatives that ended up in the hands of our FBI. None of this is despite the media wanting to obstruct this. That indeed did happen. So But the fact that the Democrats are already not letting him testify, as of right now, they're going to give us no witnesses.
All right. So you also asked for Nellie Orr, the wife of Bruce Orr. Nellie Orr, of course, was someone who worked with Fusion GPS. You also asked for Tim Morrison. Now, Tim Morrison, his testimony is, I want to be clear, I was not concerned with that anything illegal was discussed. And then you want the whistleblower because you think that the president should at least have the opportunity to confront his accusers, especially since the IG reported bias by the whistleblower against President Trump, and the whistleblower worked closely with Vice President Biden. Now, if you're accused of a crime, why can't you be confronted with those witnesses against you?
Well, remember, this whistleblower first went to Adam Schiff and the Democrats. They won't come clean on what they told the whistleblower or who this whistleblower actually spoke to. Let's start with that. So they essentially coached the whistleblower. You have all of the situation then turned into, oh, we have to hear from this whistleblower. We're going to make this whistleblower available, to now we can't even talk about the whistleblower. Anybody that speculates who the whistleblower is, their name disappears from the internet. I mean, that's the latest story, if you can believe it. There's a name out there that people are speculating on.
And even the stories change.
And
Even the stories change as to whether or not he worked with the vice president. But let me ask you this. You have already asked for Representative Jim Jordan, Congressman Jim Jordan, I should say, to be on the committee. And is he on the committee? Does Nancy Pelosi have the right to quash that?
Well, she had the right to try to stop it yesterday. They were making rumblings that they would, but they decided not to. And look, the reason why I requested that this get done is because there's no longer a House Intelligence Committee. I mean, we don't even meet on any Intelligence Committee matters. This has been converted into the Impeachment Committee. So I went to the leadership to say, look, we need to put some people on here that have some different types of experiences. So we'll be relying on Jim Jordan, who's the top Republican on the Oversight Committee. He's done a lot of depositions over his career. And then we'll also be relying on John Ratcliffe, a member from Texas on the House Intelligence Committee, but also a longtime U.S. attorney and prosecutor. So we'll be looking to those two members to basically lead our effort and do our questioning of, I will say, Adam Schiff and the Democrats' witnesses, because as of right now, we're not going to get one witness, and it doesn't appear like we're any closer to getting a witness.
That is amazing. You're the accused, you have a trial, and it's almost as though the prosecutor, judge, jury says you're not allowed to bring in these witnesses, you're not going to be allowed to cross-examine our witnesses until we find you guilty. That is stunning and contrary to everything this country stands for. Go ahead.
We've had this cult going on down in the Star Chamber at the basement of the Capitol.
Right.
Okay. And now starts the Democrat show trial. And that's what you're going to see this week.
Well, clearly. And Congressman Devin Nunes, thanks so much for being with us tonight. And joining me now by phone, Donald Trump Jr., Executive Vice President of the Trump Organization and author of the brand new book, Triggered, How the Left Thrives on Hate and Wants to Silence Us. Good evening. Don?
How are you, Judge?
I'm good. The question is, how are you? I know you've had an interesting week, and we'll talk about The View in a minute. But I do want to talk about your book. I started reading it. I must tell you, it's an easy read, and it's very entertaining, and it is so you. It's your voice. But one of the things you say right in the beginning, you say the only president in the history of this country ever elected without the approval of the ruling class, and the impeachment is started by people who hate Donald Trump more than they love America. Why do you think people hate Donald Trump?
Listen, I think he's tackling the establishment. The establishment in this country has gotten into high levels of power. There has been no accountability, frankly, on either side for far too long. And that's what you see. I mean, that's why you see the nonsense with Hunter Biden. That's why you see the stuff going on right now where Adam Schiff can be judge, jury, executioner, and Donald Trump, because he's an outsider, doesn't get to have any of the same rights that any citizen in the United States would have right now. He's an affront to what they've built up, which they've taken care of that ruling class for far too long. Trump came in, he said, I'm going to blow all that up. He did it. He's done it with accomplishment. He's done it with record unemployment numbers. He's done it with incredible record startup numbers for new businesses. He's done everything that incompetent politicians have not been able to do in decades, and he's done it in a record amount of time. That is the scariest thing in the world for that ruling class, because they're starting to realize, and the American people are starting to realize, that they serve no actual purpose for the American people. That's why Nancy Pelosi is sitting on the USMCA. That's why she refuses to bring something to vote that every I can't imagine even most Democrats not even voting for it. It would create hundreds of thousands of jobs, but she can't give Trump a win, even if that's good for the American people. This is what I've been writing about. This is what I've been speaking about. This is what the rest of the country tells me about Jeanine when I'm all over the place. I'm in Texas today doing just that. American people want the Democrats to let him do his job.
Well, and, you know, the amazing part of it is that when he's doing his job, which is 24/7, clearly, if anybody's looking, you know, he's accomplishing things. And I find it so interesting that as I go through the book, you know, you talk about how much like your dad you are, and you didn't really expect to be. But the fact is that, you know, you're a counterpuncher, too. And we saw that on The View this week. And I, like you, was in that hot seat. But unlike you, I also got thrown out of the building and cursed out of the building.
Yeah.
But talk to me. What was that like for you? Were you surprised?
Well, listen, hey, I'm not a baby. I don't assume they're going to go softball on me and stuff like that. But, you know, in all fairness, if someone does ask you onto a show like that to speak for 3 segments about your book, I expect one question about the book. That doesn't seem like an unreasonable ask. You know, obviously they figured they could try to get me in that seat and they could try to badger me for, you know, almost half an hour on the show. But the problem with them is they're used to people who just want to get invited back, who just want to be loved. I don't care, Jeanine. If they don't like me, it makes absolutely no difference to me. I will still go out there. I will still make my points. I will argue the points that they can't fight back on, and that's why they had nothing other than to be vicious. Other than when they lost the crowd, and even the crowd started cheering.
Yes.
You know, when they're, this is not a MAGA rally, because they have no facts. And the problem is they've had 5,000 episodes, and it feels like I'm the first person to actually push back hard, to play the game by the leftist rules that they established. They can do whatever they want, and there's no accountability. If a conservative does anything, if they question it, they're canceled. I don't play that way because I don't care. Well,
the amazing part of it is that in the end, as people were cheering you on, and as you at least were able to get out some of your points, I mean, they didn't just stop the interview as they did with me. They literally just stopped the interview, didn't talk about the book. I mean, so in a sense, you know, you were to be really congratulated for standing your ground and getting your points out there. I mean, you did it very well. So what do you expect in the end in terms of the book? What is the message before we end?
Well, listen, I think the message is manifold, right? I mean, I think between the book and the interview itself, it speaks to the hypocrisy that we're talking about, the hypocrisy that we see from the media, the hypocrisy that we see from the liberal elite. I mean, that was one of the major points of the book that I wanted to point out, and you see it right there. I mean, how disingenuous is it to invite someone on your show to talk about your book and not ask a single question about it, you know? They figured they could get me in there, they could get me in a trap, and then badger me for a little while. But again,
all right, gotta run.
We're counterpunchers. We're going to hit back.
Yes, you are.
You know, the book talks about all of that and then some, and, you know, our life, the story of the campaign.
Gotta go, Donald. Donald, gotta go.
Thank you, Jeanine. I really appreciate it.
All right, thank you. Meantime, the president taking aim at Nancy Pelosi, Adam Schiff, and the Dems. So what is the White House's plan to counteract the impeachment hearings next week? Hogan Gidley, deputy press secretary to the president, is standing by live. President Trump continues to slam the Democrats' ridiculous impeachment hoax, tweeting today, I recommend that nervous Nancy Pelosi, who backed up Schiff's lie, shifty Adam Schiff, sleepy Joe Biden, the whistleblower, who miraculously disappeared after I released the transcript of the call, the second whistleblower, who also disappeared, and the IG be part of the list. Joining me now with more, White House Deputy Press Secretary Hogan Gidley. Okay, what do you think the chances are of shifty Adam Schiff saying, you're right, Mr. President, let's make them part of the list. I give you approval.
Probably zero, but they ought to be on that list, absolutely. I mean, listen, the fact that the media is giving any credence or credibility to Adam Schiff or Nancy Pelosi at this point is
People are so courageous. I mean, they came forward. You know, they have their careers and so much more at risk. Are you kidding?
Judge, listening to Adam Schiff talk about courage, he knows more about courage about as I know about neurosurgery right now, about cereal production in eastern Guyana. This guy doesn't know the first thing is the courage of a firefly. Listen to me. This case is BS. It's a farce. It's a joke. It's a bad magic act at a kid's birthday party. It's based on, as you said before, and you were correct, a transcript. What did you say before? The rest is white noise. The rest is all garbage. Disregard this whole thing. The claim against the president is that on this phone call, he made some illicit deal with the Ukrainians. That's the claim, right? The Democrats like to dazzle you with bull. You get the rest, right? The rest is nonsense. Now, on that transcript, they have 3 witnesses. They have the colonel. Colonel Vindman, who when asked to read the transcript under oath and to point out where this illicit deal took place, he sat there, Judge, looking, what do I do? They gave him a couple minutes. He couldn't find it.
Of course he couldn't find it.
Then you have witness number 2. Because it wasn't there. Wait, you have witness number 2, Bill Taylor, the charge d'affaires in Ukraine. They said to Bill, they said, hey, Bill, where did you hear about this quid pro quo? He says, I heard it from Bobby, who heard it from Tony, who heard it from a dude who bought a bagel and heard it from a guy in the store. He heard it fourth hand. Fourth hand. So you're going to impeach the president over what Bill Taylor heard from a dude who heard from another dude? And you got one more. You got Gordon Sondland, our EU ambassador, who literally texts Bill Taylor. The guy just said, text him. The president has been crystal clear. There is no quid pro quo. This case is a flaming pile of dog waste on your front porch, and only idiots believe in this nonsense.
Well, you know what? I mean, any judge worth her salt would dismiss this case before it even got to a jury.
Immediately.
I mean, it's absurd.
In an evidence hearing,
and you know what? I almost could understand it, but I mean, I get that they're evil. I almost could understand it if there were no transcript. We have a transcript. We have the guy on the other end. That is the best evidence. Let me ask you something. If you were accused of petty larceny, right? And I'm sure, and not you, if Joe Smith is accused of petty larceny, and Joe Smith says, he's arrested. Oh, he's a thief, he's a thief, he's a thief. Okay, and 3 people say no. Mary Smith stole the tape. Joe didn't steal the tape. They don't care. They got other people to come in and say he stole it. Truth is irrelevant to these people.
Let me do one better here. You were a judge. In an evidence hearing, this case would be tossed because of this one reason. Good example there, but I'll do you one better here.
Go.
It's not that, a bank was robbed and they're saying President Trump robbed the bank. There was no bank robbery. It's not that President Trump didn't rob the bank. No bank was robbed. We have the transcript. Read the transcript, you knuckleheads. Take a reading comprehension, verbal advantage class or something, and read the damn transcript.
Okay.
There is nothing
now, let me tell
in the
you
transcript.
what's
You're
going to
making
be
it up.
even better. What's going to be even better is he's going to issue the second transcript the day before. Okay, and then they're going to start with all these courageous people are coming out. There's so much at risk. Are you kidding me?
Judge,
Obama fired the whistleblower.
You're just going to make another story up.
Well,
come on, it doesn't matter. Trump can release every transcript from his kindergarten days on.
You're right.
It doesn't matter. They're just going to make up another hoax. That's why I don't think he should do it. He should flip them the double-barreled middle finger and say, no more of this crap. You guys have made up 3 hoaxes right now. I'm done with your hoaxes. Let's get to governing the country again.
Now, I got to tell you something really bothers me. I don't care about Marie Yovanovitch. Everyone's saying, they said bad things about Marie Yovanovitch. Hey, Obama appointed you. Get out. We don't want you anymore. Why doesn't the president have that right? Because he's a Republican. It's crazy.
No, he does have that right. It's just like when George Bush fired U.S. attorneys, which he's allowed to do. It became an international scandal. Yet when Obama pays off the Iranians with pallets of cash, he's celebrated with like a Nobel Peace Prize.
Yeah, I know.
I mean, what are you expecting? Fairness?
When he extended the longest war we've ever been in. Dan Bongino, we love you. Thanks. Charlie Kirk's still ahead tonight. But next, were the Democrats cooking up this phony impeachment since day one? Brian Kilmeade joins me live to discuss that and more. There he is. He's right there on the screen. Brian, wave. Next, Brian, wave. He can hear me, too. The impeachment inquiry that the Dems are currently running started long before you think. It started way back in 2017, the day President Trump was elected to be our commander-in-chief. Joining me now with more on the Dems' desperate attempts to take down the president, the host of Fox and Friends and the author of the new book, Sam Houston and the Alamo Avengers, The Texas Victory That Changed American History, my friend Brian Kilmeade joins us now. All right, Brian, before I get to the book, first of all, I love seeing you at night. It proves to me and the rest of the world that you do actually, function at night, even though you're up at 3 every morning to do Fox and Friends. Okay, so let's talk about this lunacy and the president. I mean, you cover it every day. You know the facts better than anybody at this point. But you've got this attorney who says that from day one, this Mark Zaid, he talks about the resistance, the coup, the impeachment, and the guy's either prescient or this thing was all being planted and cultivated because from day one they wanted him impeached. Why do you think they wanted him impeached from day one? What did they hate about him on day one?
He's in their face. He's in their face in every way. He's extremely aggressive. Remember, he tore up the Republican field. Then he tore up Hillary Clinton. Then he tore up all his opponents. And then he had a meeting with all the media outlets at his office. And he put everyone down, especially CNN. So he laid the gauntlet out. And he basically said, bring it on. You come at me, I'm going to come at you just as hard. So it's like we've been watching a bar fight on the outside, and we're just trying to get a drink. So we're watching these guys brawl, and I'm sitting here in Texas, and they're saying the USMCA has got to get passed. Prescription drugs affects just about everybody. We haven't passed any bills at all to fund the government. And I'm telling you, in the so-called flyover country, and they told me, because I've been doing the tour here, we like that they call it flyover country. We want the people on the coast to keep going over and not stopping here because they don't want to tolerate some of the intramural fighting that we're seeing. But you're the legal expert. But dare I go into your field for a second?
Oh.
What Republicans are doing is not trying to muddy the waters. They're trying to say, why was I interested in the Ukraine? 2016. Why? Because the vice president was in charge of that. It was Eric Holder, be going after Eric Holder, but it was the vice president. And his son was involved in this. And there was a problem in 2016 as it relates to the 2016 election, not the 2020 election, Russia election. Why does it matter about bringing up the Mark Zaid comments about a plot and a plan? Why do you want to bring up this Nellie Ohr? Because to show the plot and the plan. It was in place. They were looking for a very good reason in 2016. He had an envoy on the ground. That happens with Jim Baker. It happens all the time with Sidney Blumenthal, with Democrats.
Right.
It's not a problem.
It's what's done all the
this
time.
is the counter argument. It's not hysterical. It's not blocking. It's the counter argument to why the president was interested. It's not 2020 an opponent. It's 2016 and what they did to destroy his first 3 years in office.
He has a right, if not the obligation, Brian, to check to see what the genesis was of the Russian, alleged Russian interference that they tried to frame him with, try to impeach him with, and try to commit a coup. I'm going to move on because we don't have that much time. I love your book. I love the Alamo. I love Sam Houston. I love the whole story about Jim Bowie and Davy Crockett and the whole gang of them.
Thank you.
Can you make a connection, because you always do, to contemporary politics with your history? Talk to my viewers.
Well, I was just with 1,000 Texans over the last 8 hours here in 2 separate stops. Just Ken Starr threw a great event in Waco for me. I had a chance to talk to them. These people have great pride. But what I want to do is tell the Texas story and tell America this is your story. The Texas fight for freedom is every bit the American fight for freedom and liberty. And if you just counter propose that to what we're seeing now, the blame, the pointing fingers, the friction, instead of give me an opportunity in America to be successful. That's what they asked for in Texas. When the Mexican government got in the way and threw out their Constitution, that's when they rose up. We don't seem to care. We want to get rid of the First Amendment because it's sometimes it's against what you think. We want to get rid of the Second Amendment because it's against, we are against when some idiots use it for the wrong reason. Well, just a short time ago, we were fighting for both those things and dying for it. My hope is, understand America, you're an exceptional place. Democrats and Republicans who like watching Judge Jeanine should know we were still one country. Some great people fought to keep us one country. And until you look back and understand our foundation, you're going to start overreacting to what's happening right now.
I agree. Brian, I always love when you make the analogies. Brian Kilmeade, love having you on Justice. Charlie Kirk joins me next. President Trump at the LSU-Alabama game today, where he had a much different welcome than at another recent big game. Take a look at the difference.
Joined by the President and First Lady